Ever feel like launching or scaling a product is like trying to find your way through a maze blindfolded?
Yeah.
So many options,
Mhm.
so little certainty about which way to actually go.
Oh, yeah. That feeling of being overwhelmed is incredibly common. The initial excitement, it can quickly give way to this like daunting task of prioritizing and making impactful decisions with, well, limited resources.
Totally. Well, today we're tackling that head on. We're diving into 5 key learnings from Lean Analytics by Alistair Croll and Benjamin Yoskovitz. Think of this as maybe your personal cheat sheet to navigating that product development maze.
Yeah, and our goal here is to go beyond just, explaining the concepts. We want to acquire with really actionable insights from these learnings. So by the end of our discussion, you'll hopefully have a clearer sense of how to figure out what truly deserves your attention.
And how to measure progress in a meaningful way.
Exactly. And ultimately, how to make choices that lead to sustainable product growth.
Okay, that's good. Let's get started then. Unpacking the first crucial learning, identifying your North Star metric.
Hmm.
What's the core idea behind this?
Well, at its core, the North Star metric is the single metric that best reflects the value your product delivers to your customers.
Mm.
And importantly, it aligns with your overarching business goals at a specific point in time. It kind of serves as your guiding light.
Okay, so it's not just any number we track, it's the number, the one that really informs our strategy.
Precisely, yeah. It should be a central point of reference in, your team's discussions, documentation, everything. It's the primary indicator of success for whatever stage your product is in.
Mhm.
The book gives a really good example with an e-commerce business. In its early days, right, their North Star might be delivered GMV, gross merchandise volume,
Mm.
and the main objective is just increase it.
Right, that makes intuitive sense.
Oh.
You just need to get the product moving, generate some sales, see if it works.
Exactly.
Now, the book points out that this focus shifts as the business matures. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Absolutely, because once the business has gained some traction, just focusing on increasing GMV might not be the most strategic move anymore. The example shifts to cost per order GMV, and the new objective becomes decreasing it.
Ah, okay. So efficiency comes into play.
Right. This transition signifies a move towards greater efficiency and, well, profitability. This seemingly simple shift reflects a pretty fundamental change in the company's strategic maturity. Initially, validation of the market is key, hence the focus on volume.
Yeah.
But as they mature, sustainability and profitability become paramount, so you need to focus on efficiency.
That's a really powerful illustration of how your key focus evolves. So the North Star isn't some static beacon, it actually adapts to the product's journey.
Exactly right. It reflects the evolving priorities and, the challenges you face as your product scales.
All right, good stuff. So learning number 2 guides us through a specific flow: empathy, stickiness, virality, and then monetary. Let's delve into this sequence.
Yeah, this flow represents a pretty logical progression in a product's development. It starts with empathy, and this is all about gaining a really deep understanding of your target audience and the specific problems they're trying to solve.
So before we even think about like widespread growth or making money, we need to really connect with our users, understand their needs. How do we even start measuring something as, well, fuzzy as empathy?
Well, it's less fuzzy when you look at the practical examples. The source mentions actively monitoring and analyzing feedback, from platforms like the Google Play Store, maybe conducting targeted user surveys, consistently tracking customer satisfaction or CSS scores.
Okay.
These are pretty direct channels for understanding user sentiment and identifying those crucial pain points.
Right, like digging through reviews, sending out surveys. But how do you make sure you're not just hearing the loudest complainers?
That's a great point, and that's where careful survey design comes in, and also looking for patterns like, across different feedback channels, not just relying on one.
Okay, that makes sense. Understand your audience first. So what comes next once we have a solid grasp of who our users are and what they need?
The next stage in the flow is stickiness. So once you're reasonably confident that you're reaching the right users and, addressing their needs effectively, the focus shifts. It shifts to ensuring they remain engaged with your product and continue to use it over time.
Right. This is about fostering
Yeah.
repeat usage, building loyalty, basically. The book uses the Cred app as an example here, I think.
Yes, exactly. So key metrics to monitor at this stage include things like daily active users, user retention rates specifically, what percentage of users are still actively using the app after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
Huh.
And the crucial question highlighted is whether users are consistently returning to do the core thing the app provides. Like for cred, are they coming back to pay their credit card bills? That shows true ongoing value.
Got it. So it's not just about getting people to sign up initially. It's about building that habit, that valuable engagement. Okay. Following stickiness, we move into virality.
Correct. Once you've established a base of sticky, engaged users, the natural next step is to focus on expanding your user base. And often you're leveraging the enthusiasm of those existing users.
This is where word of mouth and referral programs kick in, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of metrics should we be tracking here?
Yeah, so key metrics to track during the virality stage are things like user acquisition cost, of course, but also various referral metrics. The example given is the number of new users acquired daily, specifically through referrals from your current user base.
Okay.
That gives you a really clear indication of how effectively your product is naturally attracting new users just through the ones you already have.
That's logical. Yeah, if people find real value, they're probably more inclined to share it. Okay, so empathy, stickiness, virality. Finally, we arrive at monetary. This is where the focus shifts to the business's financial health, right?
Exactly. Once you've achieved a degree of product market fit, meaning you have a sticky product that users are actively recommending, then revenue and cost-related metrics, they become the top priority.
So now the emphasis is squarely on building a sustainable, profitable business. What are the crucial metrics at this stage?
Well, customer lifetime value, CLV, becomes huge. Customer acquisition cost, CAC, you want to make sure CLV is higher than CAC, obviously. And things like monthly recurring revenue, MRR, are paramount.
Right.
The book also highlights a specific example for the Cred app again. The daily commission earned from merchandise sales within the app. That's a concrete monetary metric they'd track.
Okay, so the whole flow, it's really about building this strong foundation.
Yeah.
User understanding, engagement, before you aggressively chase growth and monetization. It seems like a very sensible progression.
It really is. It provides a kind of strategic framework for prioritizing your efforts and focusing on the most relevant aspects of your product at each stage of its development. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. Okay, our third learning shifts our focus now to the kind of data we should be paying attention to. The importance of focusing on actionable metrics. What's the fundamental difference here between actionable metrics and what the book calls vanity metrics?
That's a crucial distinction. Actionable metrics are those that give you clear insights that directly inform your decisions and, well, your subsequent actions. If you see a change in an actionable metric, you generally have a good idea of what levers you might pull to influence it.
Okay, so it's data that actually empowers us to do something useful.
Yeah.
What about vanity metrics then? They often sound appealing, look good on a chart, but
Right. Vanity metrics, on the other hand, often present these impressive-looking numbers or maybe growth trends, but they don't really offer much insight into why things are happening or guide your next steps. They just lack the depth you need for informed decision-making.
they make you feel good, but don't help you act. The book uses a social media ad as a really effective example to illustrate this, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Consider the number of likes a social media ad gets. This is often a classic vanity metric.
Right.
While, a high number of likes might feel encouraging, it doesn't necessarily tell you if people are genuinely interested in your product or service. They might just like the picture or the copy without any real intent to learn more or buy.
Yeah, they might engage superficially, like you said, but never take that crucial next step, like clicking through or actually making a purchase. So what would be the actionable metric in that scenario?
The click-through rate, or CTR, that's the actionable metric there. It tells you the percentage of people who saw your ad and actually clicked on it to visit your website or landing page.
Yeah.
A higher CTR indicates your ad is actually resonating with the target audience and driving relevant traffic. And that information directly informs decisions about, say, ad targeting, creative content, maybe the call to action, overall campaign effectiveness.
That clarifies things perfectly.
Yeah.
Actionable metrics inform our strategy. The vanity metrics just, well, inflate our ego. Okay, moving on. Learning number 4 introduces the build, measure, learn feedback loop. This sounds like a real cornerstone of the whole lean approach.
It absolutely is. This loop is like the fundamental engine for continuous improvement and learning in this methodology. It's an iterative process that lets you validate your assumptions and progressively refine your product based on actual real-world data.
Okay, so how does this build, measure, learn cycle actually work in practice? Walk us through it.
Sure. It starts with formulating a hypothesis, basically, an informed guess about a specific outcome you expect to see. Next, you build a minimum viable product, or MVP. This is just a basic functional version of your idea designed to test that specific hypothesis with minimal effort and investment.
Right, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Then you measure. You rigorously measure your chosen North Star metric, or maybe another key metric relevant to the hypothesis, to see the impact of your MVP. Then comes the critical part. You learn. You analyze the results, figure out what happened, what worked, what didn't, and crucially, why.
Understanding the why.
Exactly. And finally, based on those learnings, you reiterate, you refine your hypothesis, maybe build a new or improved version of the product or feature, and the cycle just starts all over again. Build, measure, learn, repeat.
The book uses Netflix and the ongoing challenge of password sharing as a
Right.
really relatable example. How would they apply this feedback loop to that problem? It seems huge.
Yeah, it's a great illustration of tackling a complex issue through this iterative process. So, first, Netflix would probably build some hypotheses. They'd identify potential underlying reasons for password sharing. Maybe it's cost, maybe it's convenience, maybe people wanting separate profiles within a shared account.
Okay.
Based on these ideas, they'd propose potential solutions, perhaps new pricing tiers, maybe enhanced profile features, maybe even stricter usage limits. Then they'd launch one of these solutions as an MVP, likely to just a specific segment of users.
Test small first.
Test small first. Then they measure. They'd carefully track their North Star metric, probably something like daily active users, DAU, or maybe subscriber churn rate, to see if the change had the intended effect without hurting overall engagement too much.
Right. You don't want to fix one problem and create a bigger one.
Exactly. Based on that data gathered, they learn. They see what resonated, what didn't, maybe why it didn't. Then they refine their approach. And then they rebuild and rerun the experiment, perhaps with a different solution or a tweaked version of the first one.
That really demystifies the process. It makes sense. It's not about finding the perfect silver bullet answer immediately. It's about this continuous cycle of trying things, measuring, learning, and then refining based on data.
Precisely. It's really about letting the data guide your product evolution, step by step.
And that leads us perfectly into our fifth and final learning. Leveraging A/B testing to validate these strategies. How does A/B testing fit into this broader framework we've been talking about?
Well, A/B testing is a really specific and powerful tool within that build, measure, learn loop. It basically allows you to simultaneously test different variations, version A versus version B, maybe even C and D of a particular feature or strategy. You show these different versions to different distinct groups of your users, and then you measure to see which one performs better against your key metrics. It's a very data-driven approach to making incremental improvements and just getting solid evidence to back up your decisions.
So instead of just guessing, oh, I think users will like this blue button better, you actually present some users with the blue button, some with the green one, in a controlled way and see how they actually behave.
Exactly that. It lets you identify the most effective solutions based on real user behavior, not just opinions or assumptions. The example provided in the book, testing different login mechanisms, is a great illustration of this in action.
Right, walk us through that scenario again. They tested a standard login form against options like Truecaller, WhatsApp login, and Google sign-in.
Correct. So they'd set it up so different segments of their user base see different login options. Group A gets the standard form, that's your control. Group B gets Truecaller. Group C gets WhatsApp. Group D gets Google sign-in.
Okay.
Then the platform tracks the login success rate for each group. This gives them clear quantitative data on which login methods are the most efficient and user-friendly, perhaps for different segments of their audience too.
And then, armed with that actual data, they can make really informed decisions about which login process to roll out more broadly or maybe even tailor different options to specific user groups. Just remove so much of the guesswork.
It absolutely does. It minimizes risk and significantly increases the chances of implementing features that are actually successful and well received by users.
Okay, fantastic. So to quickly summarize our deep dive into lean analytics, we've explored 5 really crucial learnings. First, identify your North Star metric. Second, follow the correct flow that's empathy, stickiness, virality, monetary. Third, focus on actionable metrics, not vanity ones. Fourth, create that feedback loop. Build, measure, learn. And fifth, utilize A/B testing to really try out strategies. That's a really valuable set of principles for anyone involved in building or scaling a product, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And these aren't just, abstract academic concepts. They're highly practical guidelines that you, the listener, can apply pretty much immediately to better prioritize your efforts, measure your progress in truly meaningful ways, and make those data-informed decisions that really drive sustainable growth.
Absolutely. Could agree more. And on that note, Here's a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. Considering these 5 key learnings from lean analytics, what is maybe one immediate tangible change you could implement in how you approach your product's growth or measurement, starting, say, today? Something to really get you thinking about how to put these powerful insights into action in your own context.